So there's an anonymous question that also is in line with a question that Liz Aziat has asked too, that sometimes there are family members, in particular perhaps grandparents, that are outside of the immediate family that may not be able to navigate this well. The person who asked this anonymous question just said that they don't really understand the whole gender identity as well as maybe we do. So there's a bit of difficulty there in the language. And both are asking for a bit of understanding around that. And then if I may, after you answer this question, I will stop recording for the last 10 or so minutes in case anyone has a more sensitive question so that we can share that in this safe space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So jumping into the grandparents, because I love grandparents and aunts and uncles and all of the related family members that are so invested, but not actually as invested, right? That kind of dual pull that happens with families. And I think there are two different elements of this possibility. One is if you have a child who is outside of the binary understanding, they are coming into a space that the grandparents don't understand, right? And so if that is the scenario, then it is about talking to the grandparents about, you need to love your grandchild. Like that's the bottom line. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to get it. You have to love them. And however you can get that across to them, letting them know that the child inside is still the 2-year-old that they, sang songs with all summer, or the 5-year-old that they went to the beach with, right? Reminding them that inside their soul, the spirit, the being of that human is still the same, and find a way to build that bridge into love and saying, you don't have to get it, but in our family, we are kind. Right. So that's one option. And I know that is the rosiest of rosy of ways to do it, but that's the concept behind it. And if that is falling short, to let your child know that they are loved no matter what. The other option, the other possibility that I've actually been speaking with a lot of parents with lately is grandparents or relatives who are not open in their language, who are using gender conforming examples, who are saying, boys are going to be boys, let them fight it out, in a way that is creating a model in your family that you don't want. And in those moments, it might be better to let those moments go with the grandparents, be like, right, we're here for an X amount of time. And then, I know COVID's changed that for many of us, but, we're here for X amount of time. And then on the car ride home, be like, I heard grandpa say boys will be boys, but the truth is, we all get rambunctious sometimes, and that's never excuse for bad behavior. Or, I heard grandpa say, girls should sit nice and quietly. And the truth is, we all need to sit nice and quietly sometimes. And kids sometimes need to wait for the grownups, and that can be hard. So kind of doing a correction outside of that moment is another option when it is less directly impactful on the child.
Definitely.
Dr. Jess, additional thoughts?
My additional thoughts would be to add to what you just said, Marcie, and to say that, and then spending time with those other adults out without the kids present to have conversations about how you want those conversations to go when the kids are there. And that may involve setting some limits where, especially if, part of the picture is that, grandparents refuse to use the gendered name and pronouns that the child is identifying with because they don't understand, then sort of saying, if that's not something that you can do and show that you love our child and accept them by using these names and pronouns, then we might have to limit how much we spend time with you, or we might have to circumscribe the way in which we spend time together. And those are going to be very difficult conversations to have. And I'm not saying that to recommend, I'm not by any means recommending that you cut out people in your lives that are not supportive. But sometimes it does come to that. But it's a process, not an all at once kind of thing most of the time. So really just having conversations where you're sort of saying, this is what the expectations are in our family, and this is what we're looking for from you. Are you able to do that or not? What else, how can I help you understand this better? Maybe it's a matter of just learning more. And maybe it's not, but you're not going to know which it is unless you start talking about it as adults apart from the children.